Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Chuggu Podcast. My name is Thomas Durning, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Pearse McLaughlin.
Hello, how you
Hello,
doing?
Pearse. I'm doing well. On today's podcast, we'll be discussing last weekend's English Premier League and Scottish Premier League results. We'll also be reacting to last weekend's English Carabao Cup final, discussing the decision between Bayern Munich and Thomas Tuchel. And at the end of the podcast, Pearse will be giving a rundown of all the latest Asian football news. So we'll start off with the English Premier League results from last weekend. So on Saturday, 24th of February, the results were Aston Villa 4, Nottingham Forest 2, Brighton 1, Everton 1, Crystal Palace 3, Burnley 0, Man United 1, Fulham 2, AFC Bournemouth 0, Man City 1, Arsenal 4, Newcastle United 1. And then on Sunday, 25th of February, there was one match, which was Wolves 1, Sheffield United 0. And then finally, on Monday, the 26th of February, there was one match, which finished West Ham United 4, Brentford 2. So, Pearse, which match from these set of results stands out to you the most?
Yeah, so there's also a few results for me, but I think the standout for me has got to be the Arsenal 4, Newcastle United 1 at the Emirates. I feel as if Arsenal in a really rich vein of form at the moment would have now notched up 6 consecutive wins in the Barclays Premier League. Um, and since the turn of the year, they've actually scored more Premier League goals than Manchester United this season, which is a damning statistic, and it just shows you how prolific and efficient they are in the Premier League. Also, they've had a defeat sandwiched in the Champions League to Porto last time out. But no, I think Arsenal are really rich in the form at the moment. And obviously Newcastle are struggling a wee bit with injuries. And who's under a bit of pressure. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Arsenal aren't doing really well at the moment, whereas Newcastle are kind of really struggling to pick up results. And I think obviously the other positive we've got to touch on is Oliver Glasner's debut in the Premier League. Don't think it'd go any better. 3-0 at home, first Crystal Palace against Burnley. And it just shows you a couple of fullbacks score. And obviously Mateta gets one for a penalty as well. So it just shows you his influence on the team already, and they've already got a positive result, and maybe it's a sign of things to come in terms of the Premier League. And Oliver Glasner, who's another exciting manager that's added to the Premier League. And I think the final result for me has got to be the Manchester United 1, Fulham 2. Man U again had Rasmus Højlund out for injury, and the front line looked bleak. He's been carrying them the last couple of weeks, and they just looked lost, and they didn't really create an awful lot of opportunities. And Fulham, I thought, thoroughly deserved a victory. Um, Manchester United got a late equaliser through Harry Maguire, and then virtually the last kick of the game, counter-attack situation. Adder Traore up against Harry Maguire. There's only one winner, Adder Traore, because Harry Maguire's got no pace whatsoever, and then they just punish him right at the end through Alex Iwobi. And it's just this roller coaster Manchester United this season, where they're just up and down with results, and losing at home to Fulham is not really a shock to supporters that watch Manchester United week in, week out. And for me, those three are the standout results for the last weekend in the Premier League.
Yeah, so my standout result is the Man United 1, Fulham 2 match. Nowadays, it's not really a surprise, to be honest, to see Man United losing at Old Trafford. But I think that was Fulham's first one at Old Trafford in quite a long time, and they actually deserved to win. They played really well on the day, and Man United, I think a lot of people thought that kind of turned a corner, but it seems to be that they haven't really. Um, and I think there's going to have to be a decision at the end of the season as to whether Eric Ten Hag stays next season or not, because obviously now they've got the new owners, well, the new football department, we'll say, and they'll probably be watching closely to see if Eric Ten Hag's the right man. But that's my standout match from the weekend. But then obviously touching on Arsenal, another really impressive win. Since the sort of winter break in England, they've come back and they've been amazing. They've scored a whole lot amount of goals, and they've hardly conceded many goals as well. So they're right in the title race, and it's a really impressive result against the Newcastle side, as you said, that are struggling at the moment. And yeah, I just wanted to touch on one more result, which was the last night's result, which was West Ham 4, Brentford 2. Quite a big win that was for David Moyes because he's under a lot of pressure at the moment. We don't know if he's going to stay next season or not. A lot of the West Ham fans aren't too happy at the moment, and that was West Ham's first win in 2024 in the league. So that was a really impressive result for them. And Jared Bowen got a hat trick as well. I think that was his first hat trick in the Premier League as well. So that was impressive. But my standout result from yesterday, from the weekend, was Man United 1, Fulham 2. So we'll move on now to the Carabao Cup final. So on Sunday, the 25th of February, Chelsea and Liverpool played in the Carabao Cup final, and the result finished 1-0 to Liverpool. That was an extra time header from Virgil van Dijk that meant that Liverpool won the Carabao Cup in what is Jurgen Klopp's farewell tour. So Pearse, I just want to start off by asking, what did you think of the match, and do you think that Liverpool deserved to win?
I thought the match was very entertaining, to say the least. I thought there was chances at both ends. I thought both teams created countless chances, and I thought the goalkeepers and defences were on top. Because Liverpool and Chelsea hit the woodwork a number of times. And then in the first half, you had Raheem Sterling scoring against Liverpool, his former side, but it was ruled out for offside for Cole Palmer, which was a tight decision. And then obviously in the second half, you had Virgil van Dijk scoring from a set piece, which Andy Robertson delivered, but it was ruled out for offside because of the interference of Wataru Endo, which I think is a wrong decision because he just stood still. But regardless, Liverpool then went on to the extra time and they looked the strongest. I think the Chelsea players tired, and the experience of the Liverpool players and the youngsters that they had on the side as well proved pivotal. But I think obviously the two standout players for me were going to be Virgil van Dijk and a special mention to Kelleher in goals. I thought he was outstanding. Made countless saves, very crucial saves at key times, and just shows you why he is Liverpool's number two. And if it wasn't for someone like Alisson, he would be a mainstay in that side for Liverpool. But it's because Alisson's out of this world and he makes worldly saves. But I think he's a very good number two, and I think Liverpool struggle beyond the summer to keep a hold of him because with performances like that and with him being an Ireland internationalist, I'm sure there's a host of clubs looking at that performance and there'll be a lot of suitors keen on him. But for me, Van Dijk and Kelleher were the two standout players, and for me, it's got to be a brilliant send off of Jurgen Klopp. He looked really up for it. He looked energised, and he looked absolutely delighted. And another victory at Wembley for Jurgen Klopp, and the potential quadruple is on in terms of the Premier League and obviously the FA Cup and the Europa League, which are in the latter stages of as well. So it could be a very good farewell for Jurgen Klopp, but the first of four. But who knows what's going to happen towards the end of the season for Liverpool? But no, they're on the right track at the moment.
Yeah, I thought, as you said, I thought it was a brilliant game. Lots of kind of action in the match. You know, uh, lots of chances for both sides as well. I thought as well. It could have went either way. Liverpool came into this match with a host of injuries. They had no Salah, no Alisson, um, no Alexander-Arnold, Szoboszlai. I mean, I could go on. Nunez. That's a big chunk of first team players that you have out injured. So when I was getting into this game, I was thinking that Chelsea, they have all their kind of first team players fit. I thought that I think they'll do it, but it didn't turn out that way. I thought Chelsea in the first kind of 90 minutes of the match were the better side. Even the last 10 minutes of the match, I thought I have no idea how Chelsea never scored. They had countless chances to kind of nick the game and win the cup, but they just didn't take them. And then the game goes into extra time. Liverpool bring their youngsters on, and I don't know what happened to Chelsea. They just seemed to collapse in extra time. And the Liverpool team were just growing in confidence. The players that were really young, they came on and they built their own confidence. And Virgil van Dijk gets his goal. He got a goal disallowed in the second half of the 90-minute match, which I thought was harsh. I thought he should have stood that goal. But he ended up getting another chance and he finished it. So for Liverpool, it's brilliant for them. Again, they win the Carabao Cup. That's twice now that Jurgen Klopp's won it. And it's a great start to Jurgen Klopp's, so as I said, sort of farewell tour. Leaving Carabao Cup is still the top of the table. They're still in the Europa League and they're still in the FA Cup. So as you said, the quadruple is on for them. But I don't think they'll do the quadruple. But they've definitely got a chance of winning. They're definitely in for a chance to win all the trophies. So we'll kind of see what happens towards the end of the season. But then as well, I touch on Chelsea. Gary Neville, I was just going to ask you this case. So I think Gary Neville said that they were the £1 billion Bottlejobs. I don't know, what do you think about that? Do you think that was a bit harsh, or do you agree with him?
I think he has got a point, to be fair. Maybe the wording of it isn't the greatest. But I do think obviously they have spent £1 billion, but you look at Manchester United, they spent £1 billion over a prolonged period, and same in Manchester City. But I think it's the caliber of players that Chelsea brought into the building. A lot of them are really young. The raw potential there, but they're probably for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons. But football, you don't have time. You need youngsters to blood in for the future, as well as having your experienced pros. But there's far too many youngsters in that team, and there's not enough experienced heads in amongst that Chelsea dressing room, and they let a lot of experienced players go, which in hindsight is probably not the smartest thing to do, because a lot of them, as you've seen, like you mentioned in the game, in terms of where they were at, they were on top for the 90 minutes, just edging it over Liverpool, had probably the greater chances, and probably kicking themselves so they didn't win it in an extra time, because they don't have that experience of winning trophies. They don't have that experience of how to grind out a result, that they've just felt a bit of pressure and they've just collapsed. So I feel as if, look, and you always have that problem with Chelsea as well. Who's going to score the goals? Because I think Nicholas Jackson's a striker, but he needs about 6 or 7 chances before he actually scores one. And I think that's the problem. I think they've not spent wisely. And I think Mauricio Pochettino's under a lot of pressure, because I don't know if you've seen at the end of the game, we see the managers usually shake their owner's hands, and he just blanked Ted Boley. So it's not a great look for him. He might not be there beyond the end of the season. His record isn't exactly great at the moment. His stock's probably on the lowest that it's probably been in his managerial career to date. So I think Chelsea, they're in a big mess. They've got players on massive wages, long contracts, 8, 9 years. If players are on 200, 300 grand a week and you're there, you've got a guaranteed 8, 9 year contract. Are you going to run for a brick wall for a manager? I don't really think so. And you're giving young players far too much money too early on. So they're going to lose that hunger and desire of why they actually want to play football in the first place. So I think it's just a mess at Chelsea, and I do think Gary Neville is right in terms of they did bottle it in a sense, but I think they just spent money poorly, and they've not got the right footballing people in charge of the recruitment, because they're just spending money willy-nilly on young talent rather than seasoned pros.
Yeah. In terms of the word bottle job, I don't know. I thought it was a bit harsh, to be honest, because I mean, I think I've said this on the podcast before, but with Chelsea, basically, at the end of the day, I mean, you said about football, you're not going to have time, but in Chelsea's case, it's just going to take time because the way that the owners have come in, they've taken apart the whole team and they've bought a whole load of new players that are young, and they've got a new manager as well. And they're always going to have the tag £1 billion because that's how much they've spent since the new owners have come in. So they're always going to have to deal with that. But if you take that £1 billion out of it, the players that are in that are in that squad have all got talent, and there's a lot of potential in that squad, but they're all very young and they're all new like as well. It's basically a new team, so it's going to take time. As you said, don't have any real leaders anymore in that team. Aspilicueta's left. The likes of I know it's a bit far, but like Gary Cahill, for example, your John Terry's, for example, they don't have any players like that in that team. So they're going to have to learn who's the leaders in that team and who aren't the leaders in that team, and all that's going to take time. But then at the end of the day, it is Chelsea. They're a big football club, and fans. I don't know if they've got that patience to kind of wait and see if things are going to get better under Pochettino. But in terms of the match itself, I thought I thought they missed a massive opportunity to win. I don't think they're ever going to win. I don't think they're ever going to get a better opportunity to beat Liverpool in a cup final with all the players that Liverpool had injured. Liverpool finished the match with very young players who have hardly had any matches and they're playing in the final. And Chelsea they just couldn't get it over the line. They had, as I said, they had lots of chances. They should have won it within 90 minutes, in my opinion, but they didn't. And they got sucker punched in the end by Virgil van Dijk's header. So in terms of what Guy Neville said, I thought it was harsh. I understand where he's come from, because I thought the opportunity they missed was massive. Because I felt if they'd won that cup, then that could have helped them a lot. But I thought it was pretty harsh. But at the end of the day, with Chelsea, in my opinion, it's just going to take time. So we'll move on now to last weekend's Scottish Premier League results. So I'll just quickly go through them. So on Saturday, the 24th of February, the matches finished Hibs 2, Dundee 1, Kilmarnock 2, Aberdeen 0, Rangers 5, Hearts 0, Ross County 3, Livingston 2, St Mirren 2, St Johnstone 0. And then on Sunday, the 25th of February, there was one match which finished Motherwell 1, Celtic 3. So, Pearse, which match stands out to you the most?
There's a couple in the Scottish Premiership. I think probably the standout result has got to be Rangers 5, Hearts 0. Hearts before this game were on a terrific run of form. They picked up more points than Celtic in 2024 so far, and they've been a really good rich vein of form under Stephen Naismith and Lawrence Shankland spearheading that attack where they were just scoring goals for fun. But they were coming into Ibrox in high spirits, and they left probably with their pants pulled down because I thought Rangers just absolutely terrorised them from start to finish. And any little mistake that they made, they were punished, because there was countless times in the first half, especially, where slight passes or dilly-dallying in the ball, Rangers were just countering, and then as soon as they countered, they were scoring from it. And I think obviously you're looking at that, the two new signings as well are scoring, Diamandi and Coartes. And obviously with Dessler scoring a double as well. And Fabio Silva, so you've got new signings scoring, and you've got Dessers hitting a bit of form, who was getting a bit of stick at the first part of the season for missing far too many chances and not mobile enough. But Rangers are hitting form at the right time. They're just picking up consistent results, and they're maintaining that 2 point gap at the top of the table. And then obviously on Sunday we had Celtic versus Motherwell at Fir Park. First half I thought Motherwell deserved a 1-0 lead. Thought the goal itself from Bliss-Biddle was outstanding. Terrific little turn from Lennon Miller to set up Bliss-Biddle, and he's got that quality, Bliss-Biddle, to just pick a corner and find it. because he'd done it a few weeks ago against Ross County. We scored two absolute screamers. So I know he's getting his locker. And then in the second half, it was a completely different Celtic performance. I think Motherwell tired a bit and sat back and didn't really have an outlet. They only had kind of Theo Bair isolated up top on his own. And Celtic changed of shape, changed personnel. You've seen Kyogo come off at half time and Ida come on and make an instant impact with a fantastic header. A very un-Celtic like goal, which kind of galvanised them and pushed them on, and they managed to grab two stoppage time goals at Fir Park. It's not the first time it's happened this season where Celtic leave it very late at Fir Park, because obviously at the start of the season, Leeds Palmer and then O'Reilly scored two goals in added time. But this time it was Ida getting his second, so that's his fourth goal for Celtic and only his third start. And he's looking to be a pretty good signing on loan. And by himself, he's already won Celtic 6 points, so it could be crucial coming into the season. I think it could be a turning point for Celtic, because it looked as if the game was dead and buried, because it wasn't a vintage display, but they picked up 3 points and they made sure that gap is cut back to 2 points, because if it went to 4 or 5, you kind of fear that the title race would be over. Although there's still 11 games to play, and obviously two Glasgow derbies to play as well. And I think the other result for me has got to be the one at the foot of the table, where it's Ross County 3, Livingston 2. Ross County went to an early 2-0 lead through Eamon Brophy, back for injury, proving his quality yet again. Two fantastic finishes. And then Livingston managed to find a way back at the game at 2-2, but the last kick of the game, they're sucker punched by Josh Sims, and that would be a kick in the teeth for David Martindale, because that's their closest rivals, and this match was billed as a 6 pointer because Ross County is just above Livingston in the league table, but now they've stretched that lead even further, and Livingston will be cut adrift a little bit more, so it's going to make Livingston's life a lot more difficult in the SPL this season, and you kind of find it hard to see Livingston surviving a season, because if they had any chance, they had to win this match and they failed to do so. But you can take positives from the fact as they were 2-0 down and they came back to 2-2, and you just need to keep fighting to the end, because you just never know. Still 11 games to play, but it's a massive blow in terms of Livingston's survival hopes. But in terms of Ross County, gives them a little bit of distance and a little bit of breathing space.
Yeah, my standout match is that match you just talked about, the Ross County 3, Livingston 2 match. I talked about it a little bit last week in the podcast about how massive the match was. It was basically a 6-pointer. And the fact that Ross County have come out of that winners, they scored in the last minute as well. So the fact that they've come out of that winners gives them a bit of breathing space. And then for Livingston, that gap between the bottom side and the second bottom side has grown even bigger now. I felt Livingston, they just couldn't afford to lose the match, and the fact they did, they're in deep trouble now, in my opinion. I struggle to find a case for them to get out of this kind of last position they're in, because from now until the end of the season, they're going to have to basically try and win every match, which is going to be really difficult. So that was a massive match. And it's my standout match in the weekend, just because the fact that Ross County, they were 2-0 up, as you said. Livingston got back into the match. And then Ross County went to sucker punch Livingston in the end and scored the last minute. So that's my standout match from the weekend. And then in terms of the title race, Rangers 5, Hearts 0. An absolutely massive win for Rangers that was. Rangers and Hearts were the two most informed teams in Europe, I think it was, going into that match. I think Hearts were the most informed team in Europe going into that match. I think only them and Inter Milan were the two most informed teams. So Hearts were going into that full of confidence, but Rangers probably played their best game of the season, and they blew away Hearts. They were just on it from minute one. Rangers, they scored very early on. and Hearts just didn't recover at all. And Rangers are just in such a good place at the moment, scoring goals for fun, keeping clean sheets as well. They've got Cyril Dessers scoring lots of goals. And then the two signings, Diamande and Cortez, as you said, they're doing really well. They've come in and started really well. And then obviously Celtic, who played on the Sunday, in the first half, they were really, really poor. Motherwell went into that half time 1-0 up, and everyone's thinking, oh, that's the title kind of wrapped up because Celtic were just terrible. They were really poor in the first half. But in the second half, they were much better. Ben Rodgers took off Kyogo and brought Adam Bida on, and he made Celtic much better, and he got 2 goals. And then they also brought on the winger Yang, who made a good impression as well. And so at the end of the day, there's still a title race in Scotland. It just seems to me at the moment that Celtic are sort of just hanging in there. There just doesn't seem to be any consistency with them at the moment, where Rangers are just lying. So it is, as I said, it is really exciting. And yeah, there's still a 2 point gap. I just wanted to briefly, just touching on Celtic players, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the fact that Joe Hart announced last week that he was going to retire at the end of the season. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's caused a bit of a shock because I think he's in a probably poor Celtic season for their high standards. I think he's probably one of the standout performers, although he gets a lot of critics with the ball at his feet. But I think in terms of shot stop ability, I think he's right up there. And I think he's had a really good season where he's kept Celtic in games at times this season and made some really crucial saves at key times in matches. And I still feel as if he could have a lot to offer Celtic, but I think maybe he wants to go out in a high where he feels as if he's performing at his level best. It remains to be seen whether he can finish the season with 1 or 2 trophies or potentially 0 trophies. But with his experience, you seen it on Sunday as well. At 1-1, Lennon Miller had the header in the second half, and he makes a crucial fingertip save over the bar. So his reflexes and that are still there. And I think as a shot stopping goalkeeper, I think he's outstanding. And at 37 years of age, I think he still has a lot to offer. But it's up to him. He's made his decision. I think Celtic will now have to. They've got time now until the end of the season, and before the start of pre-season to find a new first choice goalkeeper. But it'll be some gloves to fill because I think it's going to be a big shoes to fill. Because as you've seen when Craig Gordon left Celtic, they brought in Vasilis Barkas for £5 million, and he was probably the biggest flop you've ever seen. Because I think his shot stop ability was null and void. And that coincided with Rangers having someone like Alan McGregor in between the sticks and having the best defence, and that allowed Rangers to then have a platform to go and win the league title under Steven Gerrard. So I think having a goalkeeper and a solid back line has a lot of confidence. And you've seen that as well with the return of Carter Vickers at the weekend for Celtic, so it makes him a bit more solid. But as we touched on Joe Hart, I think phenomenal career. I think he's really underappreciated in terms of how he was conducted and how he performed in the Premier League for Manchester City and for England national team. And I think he'll be welcome back up in Scotland anytime because I think for Celtic he's been an outstanding servant to the club since Ange Postecoglou brought him back in at the age of 34 and virtually resurrected his career when it looked on free fall. And he's been a fantastic servant for the club, and I think he's been a tremendous signing. And like you say, you look at Jack Bottlejobs for Rangers. When you've got a good goalkeeper, it's a good platform for you to go and get consistent results. And I think with Joe Hart in between the sticks, that's the case. So it's going to be interesting to see who is his replacement.
Yeah, I was probably a little bit surprised. I didn't really expect Joe Hart to come out and say I didn't expect that at all actually. But 37 years old nowadays for a goalkeeper is pretty young to be honest. I thought he could have went on for a couple more years, but he's made a decision, and you can't blame him for that because he's had a brilliant career. He's been England #1. He's won the Premier League with Man City. Um, he's played in World Cups. And he's come to Celtic a couple of years ago, and he's been a really, really good signing for Celtic. Been a really strong, solid keeper for them. He's won trophies here as well. And as you said, at the weekend he actually played pretty well for Celtic. Made some made some really big saves. So he's still a really good goalkeeper, but he has decided at the end of the season to retire. I don't think you can blame him for it at all. It's at the end of the day, it's up to him. But yeah, he's had a brilliant career, and it'll be interesting to see what he does next because I still think he has a lot to offer. I could actually see him in a coaching role. He just seems to me the kind of guy that could be coaching, but you never know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, surprised, but good luck to him when he does finally hang up his gloves. So for the final part of the show, Pearse will now give his Asian football roundup.
Yeah, so we had the start of the G League One. So on Friday, the 23rd of February, we had two matches. We had Sanfrecce Hiroshima 2 kicking off the first game. So they won 2-0 against our Red Diamonds. And I've done a match report on the Football Chuggu website, so go check that out. It was a fantastic game where, yeah, the home side get the opening opening day win. So Nagoya Grampus 0, Cash Antlers 3, and then Saturday the 24th of February we had Jubilo Owata, newly promoted side, losing at home to the reigning champions Vissel Kobe 2-0. Avispa Fukuoka 0, Oikuro Constable Sapporo 0, Sagantusa 1, Alberts Niigata 2, Cerezo Osaka 2, FC Tokyo 2. Newly promoted side Machida Zelvia gets their first point with a 1-1 draw against Gambo Osaka. And then Shonan Belmare 1, Kawasaki Frontale 2. And then Sunday, the 25th of February, we had Kawashiri Reysol 1, Kyoto Sanga FC 1. And then the third newly promoted side, Tokyo Verde, back at home stadium. They lost 2-1 to Yokohama F. Marinos, were two late goals. Saw Harry Kewell, new manager of Yokohama F. Marinos, get his first victory as their coach. So it leaves the table looking like this. So at the top of the table, we have 6 sides joint top on 3 points, only separated by goal difference, with Cav Shettlers at top, second Sanfrecce Hiroshima, third Vissel Kobe, fourth Alberts Niigata, fifth Kawasaki Frontale, and sixth we have Yokohama F. Marinos. And at the bottom half of the table, we have Sagan Tucson 15th, Shonan Belmare 16th, 17th we have Tokyo Verde, 18th Jubilo Owata, 19th Our Red Diamonds, and 20th at the foot of the table, Nagoya Grampus, all set by goal difference, and have all failed to pick up a single point on the opening day. Early on in the Japanese League season, but it's exciting to have it back. And get a lot to look forward to in terms of this weekend coming up. So it's the start of the K League 1, Match Day 1 fixtures. So on Friday, the 1st of March, we'll have Ulsan HD FC versus Pohang Steelers. That's set for 2 p.m. kickoff. And then we have Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors versus Daejeon Hana Citizen. That's set for a 4:30 kickoff. And then Saturday, the 2nd of March, we have Gwangju FC versus FC Seoul. And that's 2 p.m. kickoff. And we'll see the debut of potentially Jesse Lingard in the K League 1. So that's exciting times there. And there could be a match that I could be going to the match in terms of the Jeonbuk game on Friday, or I could be going to the Gwangju game to see Lingard play. So we'll have a match report up for you this weekend as well. So Gangwon FC is also playing on Saturday, the 2nd of March. So they host Jeju United, and that's a 4:30 kickoff. And then Incheon United host Suwon FC, and that's also a 4:30 kickoff. And then the final match day is Daegu FC versus Gimcheon Sangmu on Sunday, the 3rd of March, and that's set for a 2 p.m. kickoff. Yeah, so the KFA have officially announced the name of the FA Cup will now be changed to Korea Cup, starting from the 2024 season. The final will be a single match, and it will be held at the Seoul World Cup Stadium. The KFA have announced that the Korea Cup winning team must finish in the top 4 of the K League 1 to qualify for the AFC Champions League Elite. If the Korea Cup winning team doesn't finish in the top 4, they will automatically qualify for the AFC Champions League who? So Samurai Blue legend Shinji Okazaki, Japan's third highest goal scorer ever with 50 goals, announces he will be retiring at the end of the season. Okazaki, 37, joined Leicester City in the summer of 2015 and scored 5 goals in the debut season to help the club defy the odds and win the Premier League under Italian manager Claudio Ranieri. The Japan international now plays in Belgium with St. Truden. Injuries have restricted Okazaki to just 5 appearances for St. Truden in the Jupiler Pro League this season, and he has not played a single match since the 16th of December. And this is what Okazaki's had to say on his plans to retire. I've given my all as a footballer up until now. When I realised that my body was falling apart, I naturally felt I reached my limits. Shinji Okazaki, the third on Japan's all-time scoring list, registering 50 goals in 119 appearances, and he was part of the Japan team that won the Asian Cup back in 2011. He's also featured for his country at 3 major World Cups. He started his career in his homeland with Shimizu S. Pulse before moving across to Europe to sign for Bundesliga club Stuttgart in 2011. After a 2-year spell with German side Mainz between 2013 and 2015, Leicester City came calling and he featured 36 times in a title-winning campaign. Okazaki left Leicester when his contract expired at the end of the 2018-2019 season, and he joined Spanish side Malaga on a free transfer. However, his deal was cancelled after just 34 days before he'd even played a game, with the club unable to pay his wages. Okazaki has since featured for Spanish side Huesca and Cartagena, with Okazaki now at Belgian side St. Truden, but with injuries restricting him to just 5 appearances so far this term, he has now decided to announce his retirement. So, Tom, I just want to briefly touch on Okazaki. What do you remember him as a player, and what do you think of his impending retirement?
Yeah, I thought he was a really good player. He had a really good time in the Bundesliga. He did really well there. Then he went to Leicester. I don't think he cost a lot of money for Leicester. Actually, it could have been a free transfer. I can't really remember. But I mean, we all know the story about Leicester when the Premier League, and he came, and he was, I mean, a brilliant signing for Leicester. He did really well over there at Leicester. Was part of the Premier League one side. Scored some crucial goals for them. Thought he was a really, really good player. He's had a really good career, and yeah, good luck to him and whatever he does now that he's retired.
Well said, Tom. Well said, mate. So the KFA have announced that they've appointed Hwang Sun-hong as interim manager of the South Korean national team in March. Hwang will return to the under-23 team after finish a job with the A team in March, and the KFA plan to announce the permanent new manager of South Korea national team following Klinsmann's sacking in May. So a lot to look forward to in terms of the South Korea national team position. So the attendance requirement to be eligible to join the J League 3 is being updated. Clubs must now achieve an average attendance of 2,000 people per match, and have an annual gate receipts of above 10 million Japanese yen, which roughly translates to £52,000, £488.64 to be precise. And that's all your latest Asian football news.
Thank you, Pearse. And thank you, everyone, for listening to this episode of the Football Chuggu Podcast. This podcast will be available to listen to on the Football Chuggu YouTube channel and also the Football Chuggu website. Thanks for listening, and see you soon.
Bye bye.